we're here for social emotional skills for the youth and youth-based programs. Today is more of a dialogue than a workshop. It's about all of us interacting with each other. And when we talk about social emotional skills for youth, it's incomplete without the youth joining. So I have my co-facilitators today. That is Parth, Arav, Majitia, and Arav Garg, just for the difference, and of course Taishna is in there. So very briefly about myself, I'm a teen life and parenting coach who works with teenagers and parents, enabling them to become resilient young adults, to bounce forward into a successful and happy life, and helping adults create a space for harmonious communication with their teenagers. I think that is one thing that's come to me a lot in the last 2 years, which has been lack of connection with respect to that. And I'm also the author of the book, Unjudge Your Teenager. So in the last 2 years, there is so much that's been happening. We have, COVID has really changed lives for all of us. It's been, there is so much we've seen. We've lost our loved ones. In fact, there's a student of mine who lost both his parents during this pandemic. And there are so many things that have come up in these last 2 years from, when parents come up, they talk about social connections, which is one thing. I think the meaning of schools is what we have truly realized now. Are way beyond. There is some disturbance somewhere. Okay, yeah. So it's been so much about social connections, lack of physical activity. The meaning of schools is way beyond just academics, is what we realize now. So if I may ask the young ones here, Arav, Taishna, Parth, and Arav again, the Parth has been more in open schooling here. How do you feel about, what is it that you miss about school the most? Or anybody else would like to answer over here. What is it that you really miss about your school?
I'd say like the interactions with our friends and like a lot of experiences that we've ended up missing because of not having physical school.
Okay, great. And Aro, you can be a little louder next time, but that's good. Yeah. So I think we've been really missing our friends. And the only place we get to meet them now is on Discord or on groups. The Bangalore has still been a little more active in terms of moving out and meeting physically. It's been a little different here. How's it been for you, Taishna?
To me, what I miss most about school was probably the part where you're not doing school, like suppose sports classes or lunch periods, because anything non-academic, basically the interaction with friends and teachers, that's something that I really miss. I mean, we're still doing that online, but it's not the same experience as it is when we're doing it offline.
Yeah. So we value our school much more than we did when we used to actually go there. Wonderful. And of course, schools is, beyond just academics. And our interactions with our children, with our youth can be beyond academics too. Before that, I'll just try to share something here, and I'd like you to, each one of you here in this panel, you can share in the chat. You're free to unmute yourself and share with me. What are the feelings that you've gone through over the last 2 years? And for that, I share this with you, which is a feelings wheel or a feelings chart, which has a plethora of feelings. And how you see it is you start from the innermost circle, which has the feelings of fearful, bad, surprised, happy, sad, disgusted, angry. And then it further, what's beneath the fear, what's beneath the anger. So it goes beneath the layers to get more specific on the feelings. So it'd be really it'll be great to know what are the feelings that you have been through and what's been the change since the start of the pandemic to now. We still can't call it the end, but then till now, what has been the various feelings that you've gone through, the various emotions that you've felt? So let's hear from you. Let's share. So Anthony, you can help me if there's anything happening in the chat because I can't see the chat from here.
I would say energetic, excited, and inspired and hopeful.
You started, the first one was agitated, is it?
So excited,
Okay.
energetic, inspired, and hopeful.
Wonderful, but that's actually quite inspiring to hear. So what is it that made you so resilient in the pandemic times?
So I attend a lot of diplomatic meetings and conferences with presidents, policymakers, diplomats, and other than that, the youth from all around the world. And before the pandemic, we used to have physical meetings. And therefore, the scope wasn't very much wide and it was greatly limited. But since the pandemic started and everything moved online, it has become quite better, though the interactions aren't that the quality isn't that of offline meetings, but it has been quite good. And other than that, energetic because every day is a new day, a new challenge, a chance to do something new, a chance to be more productive, a chance to exercise disruptive thinking skills, creativity.
Very interesting. Parth, I know you've shared about these things. It would be nice if you share a little bit about yourself because I'm sure the others will be wondering what's Parth doing with the diplomats and the policyholders. So if you can just share one line about yourself.
All right, sure. So greetings, everyone. I'm Parth. I'm a high school student. Other than that, I am a climate activist and advocate for sustainable development goals. I have done about 550 plus courses from various United Nations institutes, and I'm generally involved in policy making, bilateral and multilateral meetings, and governance, and all these sectors, to name a few.
Wonderful, Parth. Thanks for sharing. What about others? Yeah, who's that?
Yeah, I would say a bit of like I was getting overwhelmed by all the different things that we had to change to get used to the pandemic, as well as a bit of isolation, isolated a bit because yeah, we had lesser interaction with our friends. But I was also like curious because these are like new things and they're going to get they're going to be a part of society in the near future, and so just to see how the world reacted to it and how everyone reacted to it to yeah, it just made me a bit curious as well.
Wow. And how did you deal with your overwhelming thoughts, Arif?
Yeah, just finding new ways to, because a lot of it was just not being able to interact with as many people as I used to. So finding new ways to interact with people, finding other places I could find people. So like I made a bunch of online friends during the pandemic. So that was a new way to interact with people that I found.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, so there are a plethora of emotions that we've been through when we started, when the pandemic started and where we are today. So it's been a range of emotions and how we have managed our emotions. Again, a key skill that we call as emotion regulation. So for all of us who are present here, I'd like to raise a poll over here on if for the youth who's here, what do you feel are the important skills for you? Okay, we've got all the results. So let's. All right, so what's topping the charts is perseverance, empathy. Anthony, that was actually emotion regulation is one word. So, but I get it, emotions. Then we have growth mindset. Okay. Gratitude, social connections, strong relationships. All right, let's have some volunteers who wants to speak about which skill matters to them the most and why. It's the why that matters the most.
So I would like to chip in here and tell that, like out of these skills that you mentioned, growth mindset, according to me, is really important in today's generation for the teens because most of the teenagers out there are just studying and doing what the academic stuff that they are supposed to be doing. Though they have a lot of passions and a lot of interests, they're not going towards that, which they surely should, right? And in fact. I think that there's no barrier between them just thinking about doing it and doing it. It's just their mindset that can, restrict them from doing something. So if they have that mindset to grow and to, churn in their passion into something really good and make it successful, it is completely upon them. So if they imbibe that mindset right from a very young age, it will be very helpful to them in growing at that stage and even at further stages in their life.
Yeah, Arav, you're right. It's about the mindset. It's about, this difference between I can't do it and I can't do it yet. Because yet is what adds possibilities, right? Beautiful. And Arav, coming back to you, where do you feel, or from where have you really learned the growth mindset skills and where have you exhibited?
Well, so I would say that I've learned everything from the internet technically. So I'm a very staunch believer of self-learning. Like I've even given TEDx talks on self-learning, and I preach it a lot. So like I make robots. So I'm into technology. I build robots. I also educate people around the world through the internet on building them. So I try to imbibe this in the way that I'm talking to people, the youth that I'm approaching, and I've applied it in my own life anyways. I try to grow every day. I try to become a better person and to learn something new every single day. It doesn't matter whom you're learning it from. What matters is you're learning something and becoming better, right? And there are infinite resources out there available on the internet. So self-learning is a very very big tool to learn anything for teenagers in today's era. So there almost no barriers for them to get started and to start doing what they love and what they are inclined towards. They should just have that mindset and then just start out with something, and obviously the way forward will all come along.
Wonderful, Arav. That's very right. I think there's all the information available. There's everything that's available online. It's how you choose what you want to see and what you want to read. It's creating that environment of growth mindset for yourself. Wonderful, Arav. I'd love some parents to pitch in over here. What are the skills that you would like uh, that uh, the youth should have, the kids should have, the teenagers should have, according to you, or which are the skills that really matter? Yes or there?
Hi, good afternoon. So I think at different stages of the pandemic, yeah, when we started off, it was like this is here for a month, this is here for 2 months. So perseverance wasn't important at that time. But as it extends, you go into quarters and year, and now we are into the second year, almost at the end of the second year now. So what matters is that you don't lose sight of what your focus is. You don't lose sight of what you need to do. Make sure that you continue to do what you are doing, but you also do new things. You grow in, and a lot of things that Ara also earlier talked about, trying out new things, finding new ways to talk to people, learning new skills. Those are important because otherwise you feel like you are in that time boxed environment for 2 years and you have not achieved anything new other than just attending school or just attending work and not doing anything new. It's important to keep doing new things, keep learning new things, and not worry about being stuck at home. So that's what I think is important.
True. Then it's been, I think, a very, very tough time for teenagers. These last 2 years, you're caged in the house, you can't really move out, you can't play your sport.
Yes.
You can't take out your emotions, really. I mean, like if somebody has to show their aggression, they would probably show it on the sports field, but you're not going out and you're not playing. So,
Yeah.
there are so many things that you're not able to do. And I think that's what also we realized. I think it was for all of us. We all felt quite caged in the beginning. We finally started adapting to it. So it's that fixed mindset and that growth mindset that comes in over there, where a
Yeah.
fixed mindset says that this is the situation and I am the way I am and this is how it's going to be. I'm not going to change. And
And
then
I do
there's
remember, sorry to say that, there's a couple of months initially, right, when there was a complete lockdown, and we'll sit in the balcony and hear the complete silence, no traffic, no honking. It was an amazing feel at that time, but it was good while it lasted, and things came back to normal from that perspective. But we still were stuck inside the home while we stepped out once in a while. That normal life is not there anymore. So it was important that while we enjoyed parts of it, but the other things also need to continue and do get more out of the time that we save time on commuting. So there is more time available, and that could be put to good use.
yeah, we all have 24 hours in a day. It's about us, what we make of it.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, it's actually not, yeah, another thing comes from this is it's not about wasting time. It's all the chances that you had to really make that happen
exactly.
for you. Great, great. Manu, we would love to hear from you what you feel are the skills.
Yeah, so I think the main see last 2.5 years, I think everybody's been through adults and teens. They've all been through various emotional phases of loneliness to finding their own ways of giving themselves happiness, whether it is books or whatever, finding alternatives to your other previous life that you had, even if it was going out playing sports and stuff. uh, I think the key thing is about just changing your perspective from it being a limitation to it being an opportunity, which I'm very happy to see that there are a few students here, youngsters here, who are already doing so much that, it's actually every challenge is an opportunity in disguise, is what I would say. So that is the one thing that needs to basically be there.
So true, Manu. And if you're able to get that, then we can adapt to. I think these 2 years have taught us that if we can survive this, we can survive anything. It's just like that. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think one has been social connections. That's been something which has been very, when students have been missing. Uh, a lot of parents shared with me about this, the physical activity part, which has become like really less in terms of, which was more before, and now, you know, uh, we tend to find the children being too much into their comfort zone. Not only the children, us also in a way. I think it's been about prioritization. If we can prioritize two things, what I also tell my students is, one is thoughts and one is time. If we're able to prioritize these two things in our life, I think we are sorted. Then there's also been grief, as I shared before. It's been when we lose our loved ones and how do we deal with that, all those things that came into picture. Mental health in general, overall, a lot of depressive thoughts that used to come in sometimes. For students, I had a student who would who would sit with the in a room with only a table lamp on because she was feeling quite suffocated in the space. And she had not been very used to, because 24 hours a day, we've not been used to sitting together as a family. And, she would hear some things out and it would disturb her. And, she started getting a lot of depressive thoughts. We have seen both sides. We've seen family bonds also being created, which were not being created. We've also seen a lot of conflicts arising. where there have been a lot of communication, miscommunication, conflicts, misunderstandings, a lot of that happening. Yeah, so there's been a lot of things that have been happening. I'd like to move forward to more on, I think the best way I can talk about social emotional learning or social emotional skills is by sharing a little part of my journey and then hearing from you how your journeys have been so far. For me, I was someone who was a corporate executive working in the corporate world. I quit the corporate world to be an executive coach. While I was coaching one of the CXOs of an organization, when I started out, I was very lucky to get my first 2 clients who were CXOs. In one fine conversation, the CXO shared that I have a teenager, he's 50. So he said that today we don't want to talk about work. I just want to vent out. I just want to share with you something. I said, sure. So he shared about his teenager who was 15 years old. And the same teenager was diagnosed with Asperger's when he was 4, and now he was 15. So very simply, in Asperger's is where, there's a limitation in making social interactions. The brain is wired in such a way that you have limitations in making social interactions. Not that the kid is an introvert or he doesn't like people, anything like that, but they just don't know how to make conversations. So he was sharing with me, I was listening to him as his coach, as a person, he would just share his thoughts very openly with him. Towards the end of the conversation, he said, Rajat, can you help? And I was a little surprised, firstly, because I didn't have a background in it. I had never professionally worked with a teenager before in my life. It was the first time I would have ever worked professionally with a teenager. And I had never heard of Asperger's before that. It was the first time I was listening about it. But the father, he said, we've tried all kinds of help for him. Nothing is working. And he was very emotional. I've always seen him talking about targets, goals, and everything. And now he was very emotional as a father. So I said, okay, give me some time. And he said, you just meet him once. And he did not give me time. Next day morning, he says, Rajat, let's just catch up. So we met. So all the people in Delhi, if you know Khan Market. So Khan Market is a place where they serve you amazing food, and nice restaurants are there. So we went to a pizza place where we met. And the 15-year-old was sitting right across me. And when we started talking, basically the pizza came, the father left, and it was me and him sitting right across. He was really anxious. He was jittery. He was, because in ASPI, when they see a stranger, some of them completely freeze. So they don't know what to say, what to talk. That day, when I was talking to him, discussing the various areas of his life, a teenager's life is much beyond only career and academics. It's a lot of other things, which I will come up with as we move forward. When we came to the area of career, he said that my dad wants me to be a doctor. And once I become a doctor, I will leave. He wanted to give up on his life. And I had a 15-year-old sitting in front of me, wanting to give up his life. Like what many of you are thinking right now, my thought at that point in time is that this boy should live. It should be like any other person. With that intention, my journey with him started. Of course, I gained a lot of technical expertise from another ASPI's coach internationally. But what really clicked, and why I'm talking about social emotional skills here, was human connection. I was not an adolescent coach at that point in time. I was not somebody at that point in time. But what we had between each other was a human connection, a strong human connection, a rapport that we developed. And our journey went forward. For him, what started happening was there's a lot of awareness he got. He was always who was the scapegoat without any fault of his. He would land up in the principal's room. There were so many things happening. He was great at academics, by the way. He was scholarly. He would get a Dean's Award for academics. But when it used to come to social skills, to communicating, so as we started connecting, he became more and more aware of himself, that I have these amazing qualities. I am an amazing person and I can communicate. It was 3 months down when we went to a bowling alley and he did a strike. And a boy who's so self-conscious, was so conscious of people around, when he did a strike, he literally was dancing in the middle of the alley. And his face was not expressing, his body was expressing. So our journey, my journey with him went from self-awareness for him, he becoming more aware of himself, to him managing his emotions. He used to go through a lot of meltdowns where he would just break down and incessantly start crying without knowing why he's doing so, to becoming more aware socially. Social awareness came into picture, and he started making more responsible decisions. He decided he wanted to do some community work. He joined a Langar Seva. He was doing Seva over there. So he got into more and how he made his career decisions on his own. So he was able to do a lot of stuff on his own. And then going on to strong relationship skills. It's been 6 years now, and talking about relationships today, he's abroad, he's having a good life, he's there, he has a girlfriend today. So it's an entire journey of skills that he gained over time. But the awareness part is which came very, very strongly for him. And what I have actually spoken to you about right now in this story are the social emotional skills, or what form part of SEL, or social and emotional learning. So now I'm going to share something with you, and I would like to hear from you on how. So this SEL comes from CASTLE, which is the Association for Collaborative Association for Social and Emotional Learning, and they categorize all the skills into 5 categories, which is self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. First, getting the voice of the kids, voice of the youth. So which of these components of social and emotional learning do you connect with, and why? Yeah, so these are the 5 components of social and emotional learning. Which of these components do you connect with? We'll start with the kids and then we'll go on to the adults, because social and emotional learning equally applies to adults as much as to the youth. So, Taishna, would you like to share? Which of these you connect with and why?
It would be responsible decision making.
Okay.
To me, responsible decision making would revolve around 3 C's: calm, clarity, and commitment, and how it's important to analyze everything and think of the worst case scenario when you're making a decision, and also considering other external factors such as the consequences of various actions and whether we're impacting someone else. It's also something that should be kept in mind. And I remember at the beginning of the year 2021, we were told to divide ourselves into groups for an 8-month long project. And at first, I was really excited to do so, but because it's 8 months long, at least after 5 months, my interest in the initiative just started to die down. Um, I'd made a lot of careless mistakes, and over time, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks, I realized that I completely slowed down the progress of our project. And I was also on the verge of not being able to participate in the project that I myself took initiative of.
Yeah.
So I should have, been accountable for my carelessness, but instead I started panicking, throwing a fit. But luckily, I had my mom. She guided me into making the right decision, and I was back on track. And I just want to conclude by saying that if there were two lessons that I learned back then, one would be it's okay to ask for help and open up. That itself is a big step taken. And second, it's your duty to consider all factors when you're making a decision, because you never know what might just hit you back. And at the end of the day, it's best to choose a much more healthier alternative.
Wonderful, Taishna. And firstly, takes a lot of courage to share an honest story. So let's give her a big round of applause from our side. And Taishna, I think one thing that you said was really, really strong, which is when you said it's okay to ask for help. And I think that statement in itself says a lot. So thank you, Taishna. Who else would like to share? Which other areas complements you connect? Who's that?
Yeah.
Arav. Majid.
Yeah. So I think that I want to talk about social awareness because, like, I've had some experiences with it, and
Sure, Arav, we'd like you to be a bit louder. It's just 2-3 levels up.
Yeah. Is it loud enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that social awareness is about the interactions you have with others, and so the people you have interactions with, they'll be from diverse backgrounds and they'll be from many different cultures, and you need to understand that their perspectives are not going to be the same as yours, and you need to empathize with them to better understand them. And yeah, I feel that empathy is one of the most important parts. Like, you need to understand individuals as well as groups as a society. You need to be aware of how society functions because it is a constant social interaction. It's always there, and it involves a large group of people. And being socially aware, it's a really challenging task because there's no correct way to do it. And a lot about it is learned as you experience new situations. So you need to be constantly learning. So that's like one of the things I've learned to that.
Any
In social awareness,
any instance you like to cite? I mean, what you're saying is great, but have you experienced it somewhere or the empathy part?
yeah. So I once took part in this event. It was a design hackathon. It was a 2-day event with a small team. It was the four of us, and it was the first time I took part in something like this. So like a lot of it, I was really sure what I was supposed to be doing, and I was just like learning on the go, and like it really helped me understand about a lot of things. And in this event, we were supposed to design a product based on a few topics that were given to us at the start, and we had to go through a thing called the design process. And a lot of the design process involves being socially aware. So you need to have good communication with your team. You need to be aware of what everyone's strengths and weaknesses are. And one of the things of the design process, you need to create as many ideas as possible, because the final idea that you have is going to be a mixture of many of the other ideas you got it before. And the final idea wouldn't have been possible without the ideas that you as a team made together. And because you need to make so many ideas, you need to be open to every single idea and like take your teammates' perspectives without any judgment, because you can decide what the best idea is later on. But you need to get as many ideas, whether they're good or not, just get them there so you can get a final idea based on these. You need to be able to, I guess, recognize everyone's strengths, because you won't need to understand you can't do the entire project. You need to split the project into parts that everyone's good at, so that allows us to work faster, work more efficiently. And we need to adapt to the situation and the opportunities that we have. So you need to change how we work based on the problem, based on the current demands. So and we have to be constantly learning on the go to be able to do that. So like those are a few of the things that I learned through that event.
Wonderful, Arav. I think as you said in the beginning, empathy is the key. And also a lot of things came in here. There's a lot of delegation which came when you were in a team. There's a lot of prioritization that came. It's not all about doing everything on your own. It's about delegating work. So yeah, a lot of elements of social awareness over there. Thanks for sharing. It's open to everyone now, both the kids and the adults, whoever wants to share.
And
How
I
has, yeah.
can
Somebody
I
said something. Parth, yes.
yeah, can I go for relationship
Sure, Parth.
skills?
Which component do you connect with?
Can I go for relationship skills?
Sure, whatever you look at.
All right. So just when the pandemic started gripping around the world, and it wasn't that severe, it wasn't that widespread, I was having a meeting on sustainable development with representatives of different countries. So one thing which I do whenever I have meetings with anyone, no matter whether the person is in youth, a student, or a president of a country, I try to connect with that person on a personal level, on a social level, beyond his or her position, beyond all the layers of formality, social conduct, and etiquettes and all. So I was having this discussion with this diplomat, and then after that, a few months later, her country was in a war with another country. So that time I talked to her, and she kind of went it out and she felt better after that. So for me, I would say maintaining relationships beyond, on a personal level, beyond the social conduct and the formalities is quite important. And another thing which is there is, as humans, our mind is conditioned to think in a specific way. This is basically known as attribution law. So whenever we do something, we can justify it, but whenever someone else does something wrong, we start blaming that person. So that is again something which we should consider, the biases which our mind has and the attribution law. So we can think about something from the perspective of the other person, the people who are in front of us.
Wow. Attribution law was a wonderful input, Parth. I really like that.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Manu, you were
How old
basically-
is Parth? I mean, it's so difficult to imagine. He looks young.
He is. He's 18, right, Parth?
Yeah, it turned 18
Oh
some
my
time
God.
ago.
He just turned 18.
Amazing. इतना अच्छा बोला आपने. I forgot what I was going to say. Anyways, so
Can add
now-
something. Sorry.
please go on.
What Parth was saying, Rajat, if I can add something to it, because
Sure.
as he mentioned, about the human relationships, connecting on a personal level, apart from whatever is your professional relationship, it is like I remember one of my neighbors. I mean, unfortunately, that uncle is no more, but he used to say that in our school exams, we have passing at 35%. But in human relationships, we expect 100%.
Yeah.
Isn't that Path?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the irony of it.
Yeah, that's the irony. So can we not have it in human relationship as well? So you can have some kind of let the bygones be bygones and let's move ahead. So I think that should help.
Yeah. I think I was sharing with
Thanks.
someone, I don't know. I did a series last year, Goal Getters with Rajat, and Bhavna was there. Bhavna, you know me, right? Bhavna Shah. So she kind of mentioned the same thing. And where she said that's a great time to, there are people we don't talk to. It maybe our brother, some cousins, some brothers, if severe the relationship with them. It's a good time to at least make an attempt to initiate it. At least you will know where you stand, whether it happens or doesn't happen. So, yeah, Niti, beautiful. Thank you.
Okay,
Manu.
so in your chart, I think the most important
We can't hear you, Manu.
is it?
Now we can.
Okay. Okay, so in your chart, there were two tabs of self-awareness and there was self-management. So I think these are the key tabs when I think of teenagers, because I'm right now thinking as a parent. And I think if one is aware of their emotional patterns and emotional response at situations, whatever kind it may be, anger or whatever else it may be, just keeping quiet, going in a shell, or typical behavior patterns. And if one becomes aware of those self behaviors and their limitations and their strengths, then one can start to manage them, and then all the other three will eventually come around. Your relationships and all the others can be much better. So that's what my
True.
feeling is.
It's a journey. You first become aware, then you manage them, then you do that. And in fact, and I recall from what Taishna also said, I think though she mentioned about responsible decision making, but while she was talking, it was a lot about her relationship with self. So there was a lot of work which was happening over there. So beautiful.
If I may just add to that, so I think all of us have certain things which have influenced our responses to certain situations at whatever life stage that we may be in, and they may be ranging from conditioning to your response to certain things that your friends, maybe you were subjected to bullying, or you were not good at making friends, and then you were given a cold shoulder, and then you felt lonely, or sometimes so conditioning or life situations may have actually guided certain responses in your behavior. So talking about myself, like I lost my mom when I was very young, and I thought that that was very tough on me as I grew up. I was 21 at that time, so around the same age that some of the people in this room are, and I'm now 43. So looking back, I think when one learns to understand that certain things are coming from certain corners, and you start accepting them, and you move beyond them, and you start looking at why that has made you stronger in a lot of ways, wherever you are, then you can start reaching out to others and helping them as well, not just helping yourself. So I think that is where, just giving an example of how this is. So it's okay, because I do know that children also go through not just heartbreaks but many things in life. But it's about accepting and then moving on from there. And like I said, looking for an opportunity in the challenge that may be.
Yeah, we can also, kind of equate it to, Taisha mentioned three C's. I can talk about three A's over here, which is awareness, acceptance, as you said, Manu, and action. And it can also be something like learn, contribute, and grow, where you said that you're also helping the other persons and helping the other person, and then you are growing within yourself. Yeah. Beautiful, Manu. Thanks for sharing your story with us. So let's hear from the others.
So I would like to chip in here.
Sure.
I would love to add something to relationship skills. So I think that for teenagers today, as I told earlier, people have a lot of passions, people have a lot of interests that they can, cater towards. So there are many useful platforms that we have today. For example, we have LinkedIn. So these platforms give teenagers, especially, a very, very good source of getting opportunities into their respective areas of interests and their passion areas. And obviously if they talk to like-minded individuals, if they meet a lot of similar people, they'll learn a lot, and it'll automatically work as a career counseling also for them, because many teenagers do not know what to do ahead in life. So it'll help them get a better vision as they'll be trying out various things. Obviously one or the other thing will catch their interest, and they would want to turn it into a career or move towards it and work more deeply towards it. So obviously connecting with people, connecting with like-minded people will help them a lot. It will help them grow as a person. It'll help them develop their soft skills, like because social skills are very important. Let's say there's a person who has a fantastic product, but to sell it or to get it out there to talk about that product to other people, that person needs to have social skills. Okay, so without them, his product or his talent will be of no use, right? So yes, I believe that relationship skills are very important. Connecting with people socially, reaching out to relevant people, talking with people, sharing interests, sharing ideas, talking on a common ground. These things really help a lot for teenagers in today's generation.
Very true, Arav. And you've said actually a lot of things in this, starting from career part. So in fact, even when I work with students, we we go in a very different way. We start by talking about their dreams. What have they, these days we're so busy in our lives. I mean, whether it's kids, whether it's adults, we're also busy and we don't get time to even reflect upon our dreams and what we've thought of, not necessarily as a career, but what we've thought of becoming, what we've thought of being, the person you would like to be like. And then having goals that I want to be here, 15 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 1 year down the line. And you have something to look forward to every day, monthly goals, weekly goals, daily goals, something to look forward to. And you match it with your amazing qualities, your strengths, what we call, and your values. Now, values is something which, is something which has been a key defining factor over the last 2 years, where the influences became very strong and the influences stayed with you. For example, there was this student with a very career-oriented thing where she had always thought since grade 6 that I want to be an architect. So architecture was like on the top. However, she met somebody in her family and that person said that I'm an architect and it's not a very fulfilling job. You don't get paid as much. It's this, it's that. And she again became in two minds that what should I do? And then when she reflected upon her values and she compared it to the values of that other person. Now for this student of mine, I can name her Simar. For her, she was so passionate about it. For her, it was much more than a career. I mean, she would give me names of people she follows, the passion with which. The other person, for her, it was just a job option for her. It was not something which she really felt passionately about. So the values of both the people were very different, which is when she started thinking that, fine, I need to go ahead with what I truly believe in. So when you're talking about career, when you're talking about decision making, you can listen to a lot of people, but you have to have your own mechanism of making that decision, evaluating the pros and cons of it, brainstorming with the neutral person. Another thing what Arav said very beautifully is relationships. Meet people, talk to them, talk to people who've been into those lines, get those inputs. LinkedIn is a great platform. This summit where we are sitting at, Arise Summit, if you'll go to the section, there is so many people you can connect. Last year when I was at the summit, I connected to a school in the US. And we are now in the process of planning an entire SEL curriculum for them. You can meet amazing people anywhere. It's just about being open to it. Great share, Arif. All right, now what we're going to do is, Anthony, are you there? Yeah, he's there. Anthony, can you hear me? Can you unmute yourself? All right, no problem. He's going to be there. Now we come to the...
Yeah.
Okay, now you. All right. Okay, Anthony, we'll come to that part later. Thanks for coming. I think we'll take it in a different route now.
Sure. Oh.
Okay, thanks. All right. So as I say, social emotional skills, social emotional learning is beyond grades. It is, and there are two things that can coexist. It's not that if you are doing SEL, your academics are going to be affected. In fact, it's going to be better for your academics, because there has been research where there's been a substantial increase in scores in academics with SEL, with the skills that you gain. If you see very closely, when I work with students, when you have an exam or test, and if a student doesn't perform very well, they start wondering what happened, what went wrong. Even those exams is a process. There is a preparation phase, there is the examination phase, and then there is the post-examination phase. At what stage did you feel it didn't work for you? Was it the preparation stage? If it was the preparation stage, was it procrastination? Was it some other reason? Was it understanding of the concept? During the exam, sometimes you are very well prepared, but when you sit down and you write the test, it doesn't go the way you thought it would. Prioritizing your thoughts at that point in time. Shall I attempt the difficult question first? Shall I go for the other set of questions first? So it's again prioritization. And then dealing with the exam finished, forget about it, go on to the next. So managing your emotions then. What will my score be? When will it come? So that managing that emotions, managing the anxieties. It's all about social emotional skills, if you see. So that's something where we come from. Now it's about, if I speak about the youth-based programs, there are a number of skills that were mentioned over there. It is also about, when we talk about social emotional learning, it's about the various stakeholders in it. It's not only the teenager, it's not only the student, it's not only the youth. It's the parents, it's the schools, it's the educators. Everyone is involved. How can schools, how can we create that safe space where our youth gets the two basic emotional needs? Any guesses what the emotional needs could be? Okay, Manu, I'll address that for sure. Any idea what those two emotional needs are for that children are looking at? And from that, I'll follow up to your questions.
Reinforcing, maybe.
Reinforcing as in, elaborate.
As in reinforcing a child's thoughts, their work, and whatever they are doing.
And when can you reinforce somebody's thoughts? When the child feels?
There's nothing specific. Basically, I feel that we should reinforce it in almost all the scenarios until they are life-threatening. Like, for example, if someone is happy, then we should reinforce that. If someone is sad, then we should reinforce, not exactly reinforce, but we should not push in a lot of positivity. Otherwise, it might turn up into toxic positivity. So emotional, I would say, reinforcing in almost all scenarios in a controlled way.
Okay. That's also coming from an aspect of when to be a parent, when to be a coach for your child. I'm connecting it with that somehow. Reinforcing the positive parts, and then for that you're dealing with how you need to exercise a little authority, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So two emotional needs of the teenagers, of the kids, are belonging and significance. Not only for the kids, it's for all of us. Where they feel they are connected, they feel they belong, they feel they can share openly without feeling judged. It is where the dialogue can happen very openly. Significance is where they feel that they are recognized, they are wanted, they feel a higher sense of self-esteem. They feel confident about themselves. They feel recognized. Belonging and significance. Coming to Manu's question, how can we as parents reach out to our children better? I often share this, and it's in my book also, but I'll just share it with you here. The first thing is to build exclusive time with your teenager. Exclusive time the way he or she wants it. They take the lead. Our children currently, I was doing a workshop about the schools lately, and I think I shared that with Taishna and Arav also, where I was talking to the students and we brought up the things, like we did a 2021 year in review, where we had all the things that teenagers were doing, you know, where they were switching tabs, doing the online classes, what's happening, whether it's Discord, whether it's YouTube, whether dozing off during a session, whether Minecraft, whatever is happening. So it's about stepping into their shoes and doing the things that they enjoy doing, where they decide what they want to do, and you spend that time together, the we time. The second thing is what I say, it's unjudge yourself. There are a lot of impressions that are created on us during the day. There are a lot of belief systems that we formed over the years. It's about removing those layers. Because for our children, we need our 5 senses activated. We are in a way competing with the gadgets, where with the series, with a lot of stuff, there's a lot of action and engagement. Let them see that excitement on our face. Let them see that energy on us. And then go and talk to them. Third is unjudge your teenager. Exercise empathy. Listen to them if they're trying to say something. Let them finish. Ask more questions. Follow less of a teach and tell approach and more of a questions. If you ask questions, for example, if you'll ask, and I'm sure some of the teenagers will agree over here also, it's like some questions they'll answer, I don't know. Or they'll say, okay, but you want to know more. What else do they want to say? So the questions can be more specific. So what was the most amazing thing about the day? How does it make you feel? Questions which are more specific so that the teenager connects to. Fourth is appreciation and acknowledgement. Kids want to be recognized, they want to be seen, they want to be heard. Genuine appreciation. They know it when you're faking it. They know it. They know when you're faking it. Be very genuine with them. If they genuinely want to appreciate them, then appreciate them. And there are so many things you can do. Congratulate them on their efforts rather than always the results. And finally, which is something which came from a teenager, from a 16-year-old, respect the closed door policy. You know, it's like somebody's just barging into my room and I'm trying to figure out things. Like, I'm not hiding anything from you. I have nothing else. I'm like pretty cool. So give me my time, give me my space. And but of course, if it gets prolonged, it's also about setting some healthy boundaries, which was a challenge for parents these last 2 years, which was very important also. Setting some healthy boundaries, how you communicate that first to them, how you have that discussion with them. That's again an entire process, how you have the discussion with them, and then how you start setting some boundaries in discussion with them, so that they know if this is going to happen, this is how it's going to be. So, you know, they're like CEOs, okay? And we are like their board of advisors. So we can try our best, we can raise our point, we can stand up to them. The decision is theirs. They're the CEOs ultimately, because it's their life, they're the CEO of their life, and they have to lead it the way they want. So that's how we can connect. And of course, I think the most important is modeling the behavior, modeling what we want to see, how we are managing. What about us? We say our child is being, is being aggressive, is being this thing. What about us? How are we? Sometimes what we are reflecting is what our children are projecting. So it's that way also. So a lot of that, but yeah, so that's what I want to share for. There's a need of validation, yes. For some teenagers, it's more about first about what do others think about me, and then what do I think about myself. So it is always a two-way thing. Validation, yes, it does come. It takes time to go from external validation to internal validation. That's why self-management comes, then self-awareness is also coming. So that's what I would like to share for that. Yeah, Manu.
Thanks for that. So I'd like to just have a little deliberation on this. So I think teens are quite smart, even early teens are quite smart, at understanding and their parents especially. So I think that, I mean, like at our place, we have a very democratic way of decision making, and a lot of these things that you've talked about, we've put them in place already. But I think kids already know where you are coming from the moment you start talking. They know their parents' preaching pattern, if I may put it that way. And as parents, don't you want to share your learnings with them in a timely manner? And make them understand certain things, even if it is like, okay, so let's say if they're having a bout of anger or some emotional outburst, and you're trying to tell them that it's okay, even you've been through that, and it's okay. But then they wouldn't let you hear you,
It's
because
okay activates it more at that point.
so those are the things that we don't know as parents. We've not read a manual and become parents. It's more about trying to understand what you have learned from your experiences. So how can we as parents handle that better? So another few things, like for example, just the value of rising early, right? And just the joy that you see in seeing the rising sun, or so things like that, which you have now over the years started to appreciate. You would want your children also to appreciate, but then they're like, Mama, that's your preference, it's not mine, let us sleep. Let us be awake till 2 o'clock, and stuff like that. How do you kind of reach out to those kind of things which you think are actually going to harm them in the long run? Are you understanding what my question is?
It's about managing expectations also, yeah. But before I share, I'd like the teens here to share. How do they feel? So let's have the teens answer this question for Manu first. So both the Aravs here, Parth here, Taishna here, how would you like to answer that question? How would you like it to be? How would you like them to communicate some things that they feel are going to harm you in future? How can they communicate it better to you?
Well, in this, I have a very interesting point. So I think that if parents give us the scientific explanation or some kind of a proof from an external source, which we would be able to trust upon, because even if they are saying something that's right and they're just saying it plainly, out to us, we won't trust it. Especially if it is not in our favor. I mean, if it is not in something which we don't like, we'll just think that it's false anyways, and we'll do the otherwise. So if we are given some kind of scientific proof or a reference to it, then obviously it'll get our minds to think about it. Even if at that moment we try to refuse it, we'll know that we're doing the wrong thing. And then slowly, that'll be at the back of our mind, because we'll know that yes, at least she's saying the right thing or he's saying the right thing. So we'll try to improve it slowly at least. So I guess this should be something that can be used.
Yeah, so Manu, data works. He's very right. Yeah, great, Ava. Data works, and give them time to absorb it. Sometimes we have this thing that abhi se kar le implement, kal se kyun nahi kiya, jaldi kar le. It takes time. Let them absorb it at their own pace. And one thing to be on the side of the teenagers, their brains are also in a stage where now guys, okay, don't start waking up too late for that, where they tend to wake up till late in the night. It is like that. The brains, the clock works like that for them, where in the night they'll get more excited about doing things and they want to do more stuff in the night. So their brains are also wired. So that's why, in fact, the schools should ideally open late. They open early. If they keep the teenage mind into picture, the school should not open so early also, because their brains are not wired that way. So yeah, what about the other arrows? And Taishna, what do you want to say? Yeah, Taishna wants to say something. Yeah, she's there. Yeah.
Personally, for me, I think it depends a lot on the delivery and setting of a comfortable environment So if it's something that you want to share, then maybe if you talk about how you relate to the problem or a story that you have, then I'd be more interested in wanting to know about, what you're talking about. It's not that I just don't want to talk to you. To be honest, I'd be very interested, but depends on the setting and the tone of the conversation.
Yeah, that also works. I think I do a lot of family conversations where I'm the person and the whole family is sitting together. Parents are there and the kid is there. And that really works actually, because both are able to express very clearly what they want, the expectations, what they are, and how they can be negotiated. For teenagers, you have to negotiate your expectations. So you need to have all corporate skills, negotiation skills, what else? I mean, selling skills, everything. You have to be a good seller to sell a particular thing to them. So it takes, and data works. I mean, data purely works. If you tell them before that these are going to be the consequences, and then you follow up with it, they will also follow up gradually. So modeling the behavior. Naito, we say we will do this. If you don't do it, we also sometimes get a little soft. See, chalo, theek hai, and that also happens. So a lot of that stuff comes. Yeah.
I think to add to what Taisha just said, for a parent, I think the image, how they project themselves or how they come across, also apart from the tone. So the thing that, okay, my mom is cool, or my mom is the nagging one, or she's strict. So while I think all parents have shades of, they're boring also, and they're fun and cool also. But I think it's also that we need to work on that image. That's what I have realized with my own kids, with one just beginning in the teens and the other in the mid-teens, that we need to also become more like, okay, my mom is also fun, so then they'll be more receptive to, I don't know. I don't know if the teenagers would agree, but yeah.
Yeah, there are two roles you have to play. You have to play the role of a coach at times, where you're asking questions, you're being fun, you're establishing a rapport with them. On certain cases, I will coming to you in a second. And then the second has to be where you have to be a traditional parent, where you're setting boundaries. So you might have to exhibit a little authority there in certain situations. So you have to play both the roles. And being friendly with your kids is also very overrated. They know you're adults, they know you're older than them, they know you're not your friend. So they understand that. So we have to be very real with them, be very real. Yeah. First Arav and then Parth. Yeah, Arav.
Yeah, so I think one of the things is that we will eventually learn on our own. So after you tell us once or twice, we've understood that you want us to maybe change our habits in a certain way. And even if you like give that scientific evidence that Ara was talking about, there are some things that we'll be like, yeah, okay, we understand you. You don't need to tell us again, but it's going to take some time. We'll learn on our own as well by the mistakes we make or just doing it again and again. Then we'll eventually realize that, right, okay, so what our parents said, we should have changed it then. But at the end of the day, the experiences is what will make us change our habits.
Yeah, and also I think Arav, just like there are ways the parents can communicate with their children, there are also ways, like sometimes what happens, we also don't put things across. We don't say it, okay, give us some time. We making that whole statement, sometimes saying it to everyone, not anyone specific, that I understand what you're saying, but give me some time to absorb it. That's what you want to say, that's what you've understood, but sometimes we just don't say it. So even the parents don't understand what's really going on in your mind. So it's a two-way journey. It's a two-way communication journey. When we answer in one word, we give one word answers, they are clueless. They don't know what you're saying because they want you to be safe, they want you to be happy, but they also need to know a little more. So it's like a tell me more automatically happen over there. Yeah. Parth, you wanted to share something? Did you raise your hand?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
But I guess it got camouflaged because of the wall.
Oh, okay. I love your use of words.
All right.
Beautiful.
So I feel that it's a no one size fits all kind of approach. So it depends on how your child is, what his or her or their habits are, what their thought process is, and what their interests and everything else are. Like talking about myself, then my parents have been quite open with me. Like, for example, when I was having my grade 10 boards, and I had this conference in Japan, a UN conference in Japan, and so it was falling on the day of a psychology board. And my father told me that you have filled up for 6 subjects, you have to pass on only 5. So bunk your psychology board and go to Japan and attend the conference. Similarly, currently my room is locked, and I can lock it anytime. I can unlock it anytime. And this has been like this since years now, even before the onset of my teenage. So I guess it depends on the child, and you have to customize your way. And other than that, another very important thing is leading by example. So what you're telling them, you have to follow it yourself also. Otherwise, it becomes a hypocritical approach. Like just a very normal example, like I've seen a lot of parents who are telling their children to be calm, to be composed, and to not use abusive words, and to stay cool. But at the same time, when they are in situations like, for example, driving on Indian roads, they are doing totally opposite of that. So these are a few things. Other than that, we should, I feel that parents should kind of regulate their grip on their children. Like, for example, if you take sand in your hand, and if you press it very hard, it will just leave. It will move out from the spaces between the fingers and all. But if you hold it lightly, it will stay within your hands. So that is something. And talking about what teenagers here said, talking about scientific approaches, then I guess that there isn't one fixed scientific approach. There'll be different theories, and every day someone will come up with a new research and a new hypothesis telling something. And even scientific reports are not 100% correct because there is no one to confirm them. And nothing in this world is entirely black and white. So you can't have a black and white, you can't have everything in written. A few things come with experience and other things.
What Arav also shared. We learn with experience. So
Yeah.
What Arav Majid here shared. Yeah. Things comes with experience. Let us absorb it at our own pace. Yeah. And I think the regulatory part is, I think I like that example. So it's again being the traditional parent or being the coach at that point in time. Wonderful. Great discussion. Thanks, Manu, for initiating that. It's got everyone active.
Thanks to you all and the kids for participating. And some of them, especially Arav, the one who went before this, when he was talking, मुझे लगा कि मेरी बेटी बोल रही है. It was exactly like that. So very nice. Thank you all.
I think what Parth also said that everyone is unique. Here, the four. Am I audible? Okay, Brijesh wants to say something. We can't hear you. आपका वॉल्यूम स्टेक करो. हाँ, आप बोलो. Anthony, can you help them if you're there? Yeah, your hand is risen, Brijesh, but we can't hear you. I don't know who can help you here.
Rajat, ask the teenagers. They are the best people to guide on
Yeah,
Zoom.
the techies here. Yeah, we're all
You
techies.
have the tech
We have
savvy
a tech
teenagers
nutties here
here.
also.
There is a net issue from his side because his mic is unmuted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing before Brijesh starts is I think what Parth said is very, very right. Each of the four students sitting in front of me, they're all very unique in their own way. They all have their own amazing qualities, own amazing stuff. So when as a mother of two, Manu, you'll realize both your children would be very different. The way you deal with them, the way you have to talk to them, the way you have to understand them, because everything will be different. So it has to be a very customized approach, what Parth said. That's very true. Brijesh, can you speak now? Anthony, can you help me? हाँ अभी आप बोलो. आप ऐसे करो, आप चैट पे लिख दो, हम लोग आपकी जगह बोलें. You
Make a
write it down.
co-host. Should I make him a co-host to speak?
Yeah, try. Yeah. Brijesh, वो आपको co-host. She's trying to make you a co-host.
Yeah. Can you try now, Brijesh?
Now say something.
His mic is not connected. Yeah, now yeah.
आपका
Yes,
mic
now
connected नहीं है. Now
Yes.
say.
I guess he cannot hear us if his mic is not connected, if his sound is not connected.
Still can't hear.
No.
Maybe आप chat में type कर सकते हो, if you can type it in the chat. Yeah.
Neeti, what you mentioned is also very right. Sometimes you can learn from your parents' experience.
Because every time you did not to wait for your own experiences. Sometimes you can learn not only from parents, from some other person's experience also. It is not that, to learn from your experience, you really have to cross that danger level or any kind of an obstacle. Sometimes, these kind of people who already have the previous experience, not necessarily parents, could be your friends also.
But one caveat for parents over here, share your story, great. Do share it. Share your story without the lesson.
Yes.
Don't give them a lesson at the end of it because that will repel. Let them absorb it. Let them understand.
See, but Rachit, one thing is also there, the what lesson we learned. See, now I have also raised a teenager. My son is 23 years today. He's crossed that stage where we used to argue and, it was pretty normal. Now looking back, I feel it is a lot of fun that we had. And now the kind of the mature talk that we had with him, he's talking about his internships and the job prospects and the job.
Voice is echoing.
Can Bridget, I think Rajesh, you need to switch off your mic.
आप ऐसे करो, आप type कर लो. Can you type it? Rajesh, you can type it what you want to say. Echo आ रही थी ना? हाँ. So Neeti, what I understood, you shared that you've raised a teenager who's now a 23-year-old and he's big enough, but you now laugh upon things that used to happen before. That's what you were sharing, right?
Yes. Yeah, that is what I was sharing. So we also had our share of arguments, our share of disappointments, and everything was pretty normal as the teenager would do in his life. And it is really nice to hear from these teenagers today what they're expecting from parents. And sometimes, as you said, yes, what we should also share our experiences with our children very openly without giving them any kind of learning, because what we learned at that age might not be relevant for these children today.
Yes.
Because they are in a different era. So it is better that we allow them to learn, we allow them to derive that conclusion.
Yeah, and in fact, share your workday with them. They understand things. Sometimes we fear sharing our workday with them, that what is it relevant to them. They understand everything. Yeah, absolutely. Nice. Okay, coming to the next part of it, Brijesh, you can type in Brijesh. We'll put it.
Can I add a few things?
Path, you want to share something?
Yeah, can I add a few things?
You can just give me 1 second. I'm sharing something in the chat box, which just a second, Path. So, as an initiative, we're starting with a youth live webinar series, which is for everyone, adults, kids, where everything is discussed, from goal setting to connections, basically all the areas of a child's life, which I call as the pizza life, which has all the areas of a teenager, which is not only career and academics, it's much beyond that. There's a different, I call it a pizza life also, because it's all just like you have an 8-slice pizza, we have an 8-slice life, which has various areas. And if you just sit with your, you can do it for yourself also, the areas will change. But for your kids, they can rate themselves on an area 1 to 10 where they see each other. And Arav or Taishna, would you like to explain how this works? Because you guys have done it. Either of you.
Yeah, sure. So these are different parts of your life that everyone has, and basically you should rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10 based on how you think it's going, how this part of how important it is, how well you think it is, and how much you think you want to improve on it, and how much room for improvement there is.
Yeah, how much room of improvement is it? For example, in family, what are things that you think you can do to make the connection better? What is it's your parents can do to make the connection better? So it's a two-way journey. For friends, are you happy with the quality of friends you have, the quantity of friends you have? Do you like to chill out with them, hang out with them? Do you want more friends? How is it for you? So how happy are you with your friendships? So a lot of social skills also come in here. Do I hesitate in making new friends, or I'm comfortable in making friends? With career, it's about career clarity. How clear are you on what you want to do going forward? So you have thought a few things, it's a 2, 3, and then how it can go to a higher level. Need not be a 10. So there's always a start goal, there is a mid goal, and there is an end goal. I am at a 30%, I want to reach an 80%. There is a middle path also. If you're going from a 30 to a 50, it is a great growth. Reach there, then set your target for an 80%. So it's about setting a start goal, a mid goal, and an end goal. I have somebody who shared something in the chat. So in that webinar series, if you see did I share the link already? Yeah, so that's the link. Can you see the link, everyone, in the chat? Yes, it's for everyone, whether it's adults, it's kids, it's parents. So a lot of concerns would be addressed over there. Thank you, Roshni. Roshni, we haven't heard you about it yet. Has Brijesh entered something that we missed? Nice to hear you all. Applying SEL with street slum children as program manager at Safe Society with good results. Nice, valuable communication from teenagers. Thank you, Brijesh, and we would also love to hear the project that you're taking up, because I think, firstly, I think that the children from the street and slum, they already come with a lot of skills. उनमें वो सारी चीजें already होती हैं बहुत हद तक, मतलब the resilience part, everything. But of course, वहाँ भी there are certain challenges. I mean, Deep is not here today. She's from Vibha organization, and she would have shared this. Neeti knows her, right? So वहाँ पे there are a lot of concerns with the जहाँ बच्चों को स्कूल जाने के बजाय उनको काम कराते हैं, घर काम करने पड़ते हैं. कुछ केसेस में उसको इतनी प्रायोरिटी नहीं दी जाती, स्कूल को और घर को. मतलब different for every community, but I really wanted Deep also to be here. She would have shared a lot of inputs with respect to how the NGOs work and what Brijesh is also sharing with us. And I want to say kudos to you, Brijesh, and everyone who's doing that work. इतना जरूरी है ये, and अगर वो हम लोग उधर से ही शुरू कर दें, because वहां से ना revolutionary growth होती है, क्योंकि that passion, that focus is so strong कि वो लोग फिर सीधा अलग ही उड़ान भरते. So thanks for that, Brijesh. Somebody else is sharing. Yeah. Great. So sharing very commonly about a basic Parth wanted to share something and I stopped you, Parth. Go on.
All right. So one more thing which I've noticed in teenagers is that they blindly follow trends and whatever others are doing, basically following the masses, as we call it. So, and other than that, again, I feel that self-awareness is quite important. Like taking my personal example, I have been under psychiatric treatment for depression since the age of 12. Because while I'm into all these things, all the other kids, they are almost 90 to 95% of them are into Netflix, pop culture, this series, that series, and video games and all this. Because of this reason, there have been a lot of differences, and I have never had a single friend till date. So, and other than that, another thing, as I said, blindly following trends. Like for example, recently we can see that there's a huge increase in children and teenagers doing something and following the Westerners celebrating Halloween, all these things, and they don't even know why they are doing it, but they are doing it because everyone else is doing. Similarly, other than that, you all must have heard about Spotify. So there's this feature in Spotify, which is another Spotify app. It shows statistics of the songs which you have heard entire year. And there's again this trend to share it on Instagram stories. So teenagers, again, they are trying, some of them, they try to show off their, almost everyone tries to show off their Western taste in music, and they share about singers even the Americans haven't heard of, and others are following them. So one thing which I've noticed is that even after being smart and knowing a lot of stuff, teenagers, they're not modernizing, they're westernizing and blindly following things, and giving up on their uniqueness and self-awareness.
Kudos to you, Parth, firstly for sharing it. It takes a lot to speak up, and thank you for that. So, round of applause for you. And yeah, I think everything that you shared is very relevant. I mean, there's no one thing that I want to point out. I think it's been beautiful. Thank you again. Coming to youth-based program, the second part of it, we still have about 19 minutes to go. First, let me hear it from you guys here. What is it, or if you've been part of a social emotional skill program or a youth-based program, a life coaching program, how has your experience been, or how has it helped you?
Can I go first?
Yes, Parth.
All right. So I haven't been part of a specific program, but I have worked with multiple organizations. Even as on date, I'm working with about 15, 20 organizations, which includes NGOs, youth organizations, startups, and intergovernmental organizations. And I've also volunteered in the United Nations Volunteers India. So what I feel is that a lot of these programs and everything, they are not accessible to the people who need them the most. And most of them are focusing only on tier 1 cities. So I was working with this startup known as Studometrics, and its basic goal is spreading all the opportunities and everything in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where it is much more required than tier 1 cities, because in tier 1 cities, infrastructure is already there and schools are quite good. So they are pushing forward a lot of stuff. But in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, there's a lot of talent which is untapped, and these children don't have a lot of opportunities. Then secondly, I'm working with another startup, another team-based startup, which is with the name of You Uplift. I'm working as a chief advisor there. And so basically in You Uplift, we are working on making all these things, education and extracurricular, more inclusive for children with learning disabilities, because as most of us have seen, they have been marginalized and they are treated in a different way. So I feel that we should make it more inclusive on these two aspects. First is on the geographical location, second is for specially able children.
Inclusivity for sure, Parth. We really need it. So that everyone is able to fit in. We need to create an environment which is where everyone can fit in and feel comfortable, feel that safe space. That's what schools also need to create for that. Beautiful share, Parth. Others, youth-based programs.
May I go?
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I think you can focus on, if you can focus on mid-teen years, which is going to be relevant to me, where I think they have more confusions about careers, and there's less clarity. and also emotional responses. Again, a state of confusion, because though you may be very good at decision making otherwise, but then there are situations and then you don't know what to do,
And
and then
that
you may
second,
not,
yes.
yeah, and then you may not have like your the person to turn to, and we as parents may not give you the right responses all the time. So from that perspective, and I would actually today also I wanted my daughter to join, so I would like my daughter to also to attend some of your sessions as well.
Okay. And so it's also about being more mindful, you're saying, right? In that situation, being able to respond the right way. Is that what you're saying by the responses part?
No, what I mean is uh, it's a confused state regarding career choices or regarding responses to situations in life. Let's say you had a fight with your sibling, or
Oh,
some accident happened, and then so your responses to a certain situation. How should they follow a more structured approach, and
okay.
like that kind of a thing.
Thanks for the feedback. I'll take that. Taishna, Arav, Rajesh, anybody wants to share?
Yeah.
Firstly, thanks Roshni for sharing. I'll come back to Roshni. Yes, Arav.
Yeah, so I think like youth-based programs, they really help in understanding how social emotional skills are like a part in our life, and like you really need to learn how to use these skills in many situations. But these skills also, many of the skills you learn in new situations while you experience things. So these youth-based programs, they help us understand how to learn them in a situation, because it's hard to actually teach these skills without the experience that you have. So talking with someone who understands a lot of this, and also has talked with other people your age to understand how you feel. So talking with them helps a lot in understanding these social emotional skills. And also, like Path said, that these youth-based programs, they should go to the second tier and third tier cities, need them a lot. But another thing is that a lot of the people who need these programs, they don't realize they need it. So they don't realize that they need to approach someone to be a part of these programs. So that's another thing that's really hard to get people who actually need it to approach people to join these programs.
Very true, Arav. I remember I did a program, Paint Your Own Future. It was basically where you, where you decide what area of your life you want to work on, and over the next 6 weeks, you work on that area by learning new skills of prioritization, thoughts, everything. That was a group program which we did. And I used to also have Zoom. That was an offline mode, and we used to do a blended mode. So it used to be online, where we used to meet for follow-ups on Zoom calls. And these Zoom calls used to happen like 8 o'clock in the night. So that's the time when, they were very relaxed. All the kids are very relaxed, and they were open to talk and stuff. The kind of things that used to come out at that point in time, some were surprising. This extremely cheerful girl, she was 12 years old then, and it would come in a Zoom call that I tried to commit suicide last year. Like, you're like, okay. It was shocking, but she said it in a very comfortable way, that this is what happened. So a lot of things come up. When a child is feeling comfortable, they share. And when she shared, she was seeking a kind of support from her people. And later, of course, we did a lot of EFT, a lot of healing with her, where she was then able to support herself, where she understood that everything is within us and she doesn't need any external validation for it. And she can be herself. And now she's 16, it's been 4 years. And she's fine. So a lot of things come out when you're in a very, very comfortable space, in a safe space you create for yourself. Thanks, Arav. Beautiful share. Taishna. I'm not pointing at people.
When it comes to youth-based programs, I feel like you not only have this tendency to open up with others, you also have this tendency to open up with yourself, and you become like comfortable with who you are and what you do. um you are more aware about your feelings, ambitions, and this is all if you dedicate yourself to it. Like if I talk about myself and a bad habit of mine, it would be procrastination. But over time, I learned how to, be more productive and manage my time. And I wouldn't say that my habit has completely gone, but it's definitely improved. And to be a part of this program and, you know, see a change in myself, I'm really grateful for that, and I'm proud of myself. So you like grow as a person.
Yeah. The beautiful thing about Taishna is that she's a very, very I always say that she has a very mysterious component about herself, but she has a very spiritual thing about herself also. I always say that to Taishna, and she's someone who's constantly on a self uh, awareness mode, where she's introspective and she wants to grow from there. She wants to go from here to here, and she constantly works on that, and that's something which is very beautiful about her. Thanks, Roshni. And Roshni, you have to read out all your messages. You can really. Palak has also been writing. 1 second. And let me first read out these messages, and then I will just finish up. Even some poor students are good in study, always giving their 100%, but they want to carry for the study because of financial problems. They can't carry for the study. Very true, Roshni. That's a reality, and whatever best we can do. Neeti is associated with government schools. She's doing a lot of work. I have a youth organization, and I believe being a part of such a space empowers the youth, helps you put forward your voice and be a catalyst of change. Even I'm second rank in pharmacy now. This is my 4th year is going on, but I want to carry my further study. But due to financial problems, maybe I will carry my further study. Not sure. Okay, Roshni, we'll see what we can do about that for sure. Putting through the right channels. Parth, I think we can see what we can do in this case, right? Let's see, push it to the right channels. I feel people share most at 2 a.m. at night. Is it? I thought it's only me who's very creative at 2 a.m. I'm not an early riser, so sorry. But I don't want to be a person who wants to be someone who's motivating to do that. Rajatji, I will want to see your feelings. You want to see the feelings chart? Okay, Brajeshji, I will. If you fill up that form, which I've shared, link, I will send you on that email ID, the feelings chart. Okay. How can I connect with you? Who's that? Okay. Would like to learn about your organization as well. So you can just drop in a mail at this and you can get in touch with me. I would like to learn about your organization as well. For learning about what I do, that's my, yeah, okay, so I've read all the messages. So anyway, so basically the youth-based program, or thanks for all the sharings. The program again needs to be very holistic. Where I have done the programs, they have taken the kids and the parents into picture. And let me tell you, for the parents here, it's a great challenge getting parents in the programs. What worked was when 5 weeks the children were with, when the teenagers were working, and when the parents saw a change in them is when they came for the final session. Is for the final session where the parents and the teenagers interact. Just like right now, you're interacting with the teens. There, the parents were interacting with their teens in a very fun environment. We had quizzes where, okay, fine, the teenagers telling the parents, do you know about this, what we do? Do you know what series we watch? To panel discussions where the teenager was conducting the panel and the parents were on the panel. So there a great revelation came for one of the parents where the teenager was on a digital detox. That Krish is the name of the boy. He was on a digital detox then. For 6 months he was using a type phone because he wanted to focus on his priorities. But his father, whenever he used to come back from office, he used to be constantly on the phone. They were not able to have gadget-free meals because the father used to be constantly on the phone. So we got the father on the panel. We didn't have Krish conducting it because we didn't want that thing. So we had Mansi, another girl. She conducted the panel, and the father finally realized, okay, I need to make the change so that my son can connect with me. So parent-teen interaction is very important. If we can also have the schools over there, that is something that really works. I do a lot of personal coaching work. So there are certain cases where I send mails to the school counselor or the one who's responsible over there. And then it becomes very holistic because sometimes the school counselors can't because they are dealing with a lot of children. So they cannot go very deep with a particular child. So if an input goes to them, they work on it. And it becomes very holistic. The school is working, you are working, and it's an entire, parents are working, everybody, it's an entire ecosystem till the teenager becomes an adult. All right, so that's from me, guys. Final 5 minutes. Please share your takeaways from our conversation today. As a coach, that's my favorite question. A lot of people know. What are your takeaways from our conversation today? So you can share it in your words. You can share it in the chat. Please. Your 1 or 2 takeaways from the conversation.
Very well conducted session, Rajatji.
Thank you. What's one thing you're taking away from the session that you would probably like to try out, or something that made sense to you? Any 1 or 2 things?
I don't know. I still have a lot of questions as a parent. But I think what I really liked about this session was hearing from the teenagers themselves. It was straight from their generation, so in their words. It was really nice.
Believe and connect with teenagers. Thank you, Neeti. Okay. Great, guys. Thank you so much. And it was such a pleasure talking to all of you. Bahut maza aaya. And thanks all the students to be there. Parth, Arav, he finalized it today that he's going to come. And he's, in fact, he has his own venture, which is called Tech Nutties. He has a beautiful app called the Tech Nutties app where you can get he has a tech magazine over there, and it's rated quite well over there. Taishna, she's the founder of she's a co-founder for a Swasth Foundation, which they have recently, they're working on that project, which is a social project. She's working on a social impact project. Arav, of course, spoke about the design hackathon he was part of, and Parth is into a number of things. So he's amazing. And he was, in fact, part of the interview series which I had done last year, Goal Getters. And so he was the person I interviewed. It's a beautiful journey I've shared with all of them. And with all of you, Neeti ji, of course, we've been connected through Vibha, through Speakers Tribe before that. And she's someone who's very, very humble, and she's always very kind. So thank you so much, and hope to catch up with you guys soon. Bye.